In life, not everything we carry is meant to be spoken, and not everything we speak is ready to be heard. Sharing is not simply about expression. It is about discernment. What you share and when can either strengthen connections or dilute your energy. Many believe that honesty is about saying everything you feel whenever you feel it. But truth, like a seed, needs the right soil and the right season. If you plant it too early, nothing grows. If you plant it in the wrong place, it withers. So how do we know what to share and when? We begin with one word: intention. Is your intention to heal, to guide, to express, or to be seen? When intention is clear, action becomes simple. Silence is not weakness, it is space. It is the space where understanding can grow. Choose silence when words would cause confusion. Choose words when silence would create distance. When the moment is right, sharing becomes a gift, not a burden, not a performance. A gift. So observe yourself, observe others. Speak when your words can serve, and hold when your silence can protect. In this balance, you will find peace. We live in a world that encourages constant expression. Social media platforms reward visibility. Conversations often feel rushed. There is pressure to always say something, to respond quickly, to be transparent at all times. But the truth is, not everything that is felt needs to be spoken. Not everything that is known needs to be shared. There is wisdom in holding back, not out of fear, but out of understanding. Discernment means knowing when your words would serve a purpose and when they would only create noise. Many people confuse silence with suppression, but there is a deep difference between the two. Suppression comes from fear. Discernment comes from clarity. When you choose not to speak, not because you are afraid, but because you know that the timing or the space is not right, you are practicing maturity. This kind of silence is not passive. It is active. It is the result of inner awareness. You are observing the moment, the energy, the readiness of the other person or the environment to receive what you might offer. Discernment also requires you to be deeply honest with yourself. Ask, why do I want to share this? Is it to relieve my own tension, or will it bring clarity to others? Sometimes what we call truth telling is actually a disguised need for validation. We may want to offload emotions onto others, thinking we are being honest, but in reality, we are simply using them as a container for our discomfort. Discernment means you pause and check in with your motivation. If the intention is not clean, the outcome will not be clear. Another layer of discernment involves understanding your audience. A truth shared with someone who cannot yet hold it can become a weapon, or worse, a source of distance. Wisdom lies not only in knowing the truth, but also in knowing who is ready to hear it. Some people need time. Others need silence. Some need your presence more than your explanation. When you pay attention to the readiness of others, your words will land more softly and your silence will be felt more deeply. Lastly, discernment protects your energy. Every time you speak, you offer a piece of yourself. If you speak too freely, too often, or without grounding, you begin to lose connection with your own center. You spread your energy thin. Discernment is like a filter that helps you preserve your power, choosing carefully where and when to direct your voice. Over time, this habit deepens your inner strength. You become a person who speaks less, but when you do, people listen. Not because your voice is louder, but because it carries weight. Behind every word we speak, there is a force that gives it direction. That force is intention. Intention is the silent root from which all our expressions grow. Two people can say the exact same sentence, but the energy behind the words, what they mean, what they hope to create, can be entirely different. One may speak to uplift, the other to manipulate. One may share to bring clarity, the other to be seen. It is not the words themselves, but the reason they are spoken that shapes their impact. Before choosing to share, pause and ask yourself, why am I sharing this? The mind may rush toward reasons that seem noble, truth, honesty, expression. But underneath these lies a deeper current. Are you seeking connection, or are you trying to prove something? Are you offering insight, or are you pushing discomfort away from yourself? When you identify your true intention, you bring your inner world into alignment with your outer expression. This makes communication cleaner, lighter, and far more effective. Intention also has the power to purify or distort communication. If the intention is rooted in fear, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being ignored, fear of rejection, then even the most thoughtful words will carry a subtle tension. But if the intention is grounded in clarity and calm, even simple words can create deep resonance. When you speak from a settled place within, there is no need to convince or impress. Your words carry presence. They do not chase approval. They offer understanding. Another aspect of intention is recognizing whether the moment is about expression or transformation. Sometimes the urge to share comes from the need to express emotion. Other times it arises from a deeper desire to bring change to yourself or to someone else. If the intention is expression, then simply being heard may be enough. But if the intention is transformation, then timing, tone, and environment matter much more. A moment of sharing becomes more powerful when aligned with the type of impact you wish to create. Clarity of intention does not just guide what you say, it shapes how you listen, how you observe, and how you hold silence. It shifts your focus from reaction to response. When your intention is clear, you don't speak to fill space, to escape discomfort, or to prove your point. You speak because there is something meaningful to offer. In this way, your words become less about you and more about service to the situation, to the relationship, and to truth itself. Silence is often misunderstood in today's world. We are taught to fill gaps in conversation, to speak quickly to avoid discomfort, and to use words as proof of our engagement. But silence, when used with awareness, is not absence. It is presence in its purest form. It is a container where meaning can take shape. In silence, truth has room to rise to the surface. It is in these quiet moments that the deepest understanding is often found, not in the noise of hurried responses. There is a silence that speaks louder than any sentence. It is the silence of restraint when emotion pulls you toward reaction. It is the silence of listening fully without preparing your reply. It is the silence of letting someone else unfold without interruption. These forms of silence are not passive, they are active practices of discipline, compassion, and presence. In these moments, silence becomes a skill, one that refines your awareness and sharpens your perception. People often fear silence because it reveals what words can hide. In stillness, we are faced with ourselves, our uncertainties, our need to be heard, our discomfort with not knowing what to say. But this discomfort is a doorway. If you can stay with it, not rush to cover it with words, you begin to hear something deeper. Your thoughts settle. Your emotions become more visible. You discover that silence is not empty. It is full of messages that only appear when the noise has stopped. Silence is also an act of respect. When someone is vulnerable, when emotions are high, when the truth is delicate, your silence says, I am here. I am listening. I do not need to fix this. In that space, the other person often finds their own clarity. When we rush to speak, we risk centering ourselves in someone else's moment. But when we remain silent with presence, we offer something rare, a space that allows others to connect with their own inner voice. Finally, silence gives your words weight. If you speak constantly, your voice becomes familiar background noise. But if you practice holding silence, your words are received more intentionally. They are felt more deeply. You begin to speak only when your voice has something to offer, not to escape discomfort, not to prove understanding, but to serve a purpose. In this way, silence does not limit you. It deepens you. It gives you access to a level of wisdom that cannot be reached through speech alone. Words are like seeds. They carry potential. But even the most nourishing seed, if planted in the wrong season or in barren soil, cannot grow. In the same way, even the most honest, thoughtful words can fall flat or even cause harm if spoken at the wrong time. Timing is not just a detail in communication, it is a form of wisdom. Knowing when to speak is as important as knowing what to say. Without the right timing, truth can feel like pressure. Advice can sound like judgment, and insight can become noise. There is a natural rhythm to every conversation, just as there is rhythm in breath, in music, in the turning of seasons. If you interrupt that rhythm with premature advice, unsolicited feedback, or truths someone is not ready to face, you may block understanding instead of helping it unfold. Wisdom lies in observing this rhythm and waiting for the right opening. The pause before speaking is not hesitation. It is calibration. It is your mind and heart aligning with the energy of the moment. This principle also applies inward. There are moments when you feel the urge to speak, to confess, to explain. But not every emotional impulse is a signal to act. Some truths need to mature inside you before they are shared. Some emotions need to be felt more deeply before they are given voice. If you speak too soon, before reflection has taken place, your words might be reactive instead of responsive. Timing in this way protects the integrity of your message and of your relationships. The right time is not always the most convenient one. Often, the right time is when the other person is calm, present, and receptive. That may mean waiting longer than you want. It may mean staying silent even when you're full of words. But if your goal is clarity and connection, not just release, then you learn to wait. In doing so, you begin to see that speaking is not about filling silence, but about meeting the moment with precision and care. Choosing the right moment to speak doesn't mean suppressing what you feel. It means honoring the weight of what you carry. You recognize that your voice has power, and that power is best used when it meets readiness, yours and theirs. When words are given time to form fully, and when the moment is open and fertile, what you share can take root. It can grow into understanding, healing, or transformation. In this way, your voice becomes not just an instrument of expression, but a tool of alignment with the present. In a culture that often celebrates oversharing as authenticity, it is easy to forget that sharing is a choice, not an obligation. Your thoughts, your stories, your emotions, they are not currency that must be spent to prove your value. They are parts of your inner life, and offering them to someone is not something you owe, but something you can give. When sharing becomes automatic or forced, it loses its sacredness. But when it is offered freely, with care and clarity, it becomes a gift, one that holds meaning for both the giver and the receiver. The need to constantly explain yourself, to be understood in every moment, often comes from a place of insecurity. It may feel like you are not being real unless everything is visible. But wholeness is not the same as exposure. Just as we do not show every page of a sacred text to everyone who passes by, we also do not need to reveal every part of ourselves to be honest. The value of sharing is not in how much you reveal, but in how intentionally you offer it. A true gift is given without pressure and without expectation. When you share something, an idea, a feeling, a memory, it should come from a place of inner fullness, not from a desire to be fixed, validated, or approved. When your sharing arises from presence instead of need, it carries a different energy. It is no longer about what you hope to get back, but what you hope to give. That shift changes everything. It deepens the quality of your relationships and brings dignity to your self-expression. It is also important to recognize that not every moment asks for a gift. Some people, some conversations, and some situations are not meant to hold what you carry. To offer yourself where you are not received is not generosity, it is self-abandonment. Discretion is not selfish, it is self-respect. When you understand this, you no longer try to force your truth into every space. You wait for the moments where it will be honored, where your presence will be met with presence. To see your voice, your story, and your experience as a gift is to reclaim your power. You begin to move through the world with more quiet confidence, knowing that what you carry is valuable, not because others approve of it, but because you've come to understand its weight and meaning. You stop trying to be seen everywhere, and instead, you choose to be known in the right places. In that choice, your sharing becomes something sacred, not just to others, but to yourself.